What is going on, everybody, today? And today, welcome to episode 3 of Inside the Sidelines with your host, Mitch Smith. And today, I have another very special guest of mine, none other than my golfing partner, my buddy, Kevin Lester. Kevin, thank you very much for coming on to the show. Excited to have you. Ready to talk some football there, bud?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to talk football. Just have a great time.
Alrighty. Well, good to hear it. So here in Inside the Sidelines, every week, I record on Tuesdays, and the following video will go up that very same day for you guys, so you guys can get all your latest Inside the Sidelines content and videos for recording. All right, so for today is a very new segment I like to call college football. And here on the channel, it
Yeah.
is just not and it's just not just NFL talk. It is college football talk. So, Kevin, what did you think of this week in college football, my friend? We got a lot of upsets to talk about, and the most noticeable one that people should recognize is Alabama going down to Vanderbilt. You obviously being a Notre Dame fan, are very happy about that. I am very happy about that. Wanted to get your take on that game.
Well, it's crazy. And there was that quote from Saban earlier on College Game Day where he said something along the lines of every place in the SEC, it's tough to win their stadium except Vanderbilt. And then Alabama, who people pegged as the unanimous number one team in the country after their game against Georgia, which, yeah, they spanked Georgia in the first half for a bit last week. Georgia kind of came back, fell up a bit short. People thought they were the team to beat, and then going into Vanderbilt and losing, like, that's just insane. That's football. That's why I play a game, and that's why college football is awesome.
Exactly. And another couple upsets in the college football world. Number 9 in Missouri going down again in the rankings, and then I believe it was to Texas A&M. I'm not no, it wasn't Texas A&M. Texas A&M beat a ranked team to move back into the top 25. And then we have Arkansas winning their game over another ranked opponent. I forgot their opponent as well, unfortunately. But Arkansas beating another the SEC. It was definitely interesting this week to look at. A lot of, like I said, a lot of upsets, a lot of moving up and down in rankings. Texas being the notable consensus number one team in the nation. My question to you, Kev, is Texas now the team to beat?
Well, if you watch Texas games, they look good all around. Ewers goes down, which could hurt. He's a really good quarterback, as we know. Projected first round pick in the NFL draft, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And that normally when that happens for a team, it's like they'll take a step back, but then Arch Manning steps up. So that shows that Texas just has depth everywhere. Hook 'em horns, they came back, I think. I think they are the team. Them and as much as I hate to say it, because I do not like them, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Those two, I feel, those are the teams
Yeah,
in the college football world.
and speaking of the Big Ten, Michigan, the reigning defending national champions, going down in the rankings again with Washington beating them. As a Michigan State Spartans fan, I am happy to see that happen. But again, what is going on with Michigan? Sometimes Michigan does not seem like it's like you're the national champions. Obviously, you lost a lot of talent, and there has been very, very little consensus of trying to make it back to the natty title. Your thoughts on Michigan, Kev? Do you think they can take a step forward again and see if they can try to get back into the top 12?
Oh, well, it's tough. I believe they have 2 losses this year.
I believe so. Yes.
They got spanked by Georgia and they got embarrassed by Washington, which, I mean, last year Washington got spanked. They lost a lot of talent. So losing to them, even though Michigan lost a lot of talent themselves, that's embarrassing
Mm-hmm.
that they lose to Washington like that. And I know Michigan, they have quarterback problems. They don't have the guy. They had McCarthy last year, but they don't have anyone clearly on their team who has stepped up into that role.
Mhm.
It's like their team in general has taken a huge step back everywhere. So they're gonna have to be very impressive the rest of the year if they wanna even make the college football playoff, get back into that top 12.
Yeah. And it is very interesting to see what they were going to do at quarterback. And like you said, it is going to be a one heck of a ride in the Big Ten, which is always going to be good to see. That conference is always exciting, always much pain in my life with being a Michigan State Spartans fan and everything else. Is there one team that catches your eye? Not even in the top 25. Is there one team that surprises you this year that you think could actually make a legitimate run into that CFP playoff bracket?
See, there were, and then upsets happen. It's going up and down. If I had to pick a team, though, I'm gonna say Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, people had them as a top 25 team. I'm sure. They lost in Notre Dame week 1, which people may have thought Texas A&M is cooked, but A&M has shown that they're legit actually. And so I guess they're my sleeper team. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say A&M as a potential serious national championship contender.
Yeah. Um, and this is probably not really biased, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Miami, and this is just Cam Ward's looking really, really hot right now. Bouncing around from Washington State last year to now Miami, which a little bit more of a kind of solidified team, a little bit rather than Washington State. So it will be interesting to see what Cam Ward does in the CFP playoffs. I have them probably going to make it, probably winning the ACC. Syracuse might have something to say about that because, again, I can see Syracuse making a legitimate run in the ACC as well, giving Miami a run for their money. But I do think Miami is a slightly better team than Syracuse, even though they have Kyle McCord there. I think Cam Ward's the consensus number one quarterback in that conference, in that division, I should say. And obviously, we can't count out Clemson yet either, and Louisville making a statement by themselves as well because they are sneaking in slowly. And after that, Georgia Tech, miracle, I don't even count them out. But again, they lost a couple, so we'll see about the ACC. That division's always exciting as well, along with the SEC and Big Ten. But it's very exciting to see the college football world being different other than Georgia and Texas being other than Georgia and Alabama, my mistake, and being them number one and number two. Obviously, Ohio State's always been in the top five. I have never seen them below, probably like two ever, but we will see. Again, I think that Miami can make a run, really a legitimate run into the CFP. I have them as my sleeper team. But moving on, Kev, I would like to talk about some news around the NFL, and a lot of people are probably wondering what
Yeah,
we're going
let's
to
get
talk
into
about
this.
today. Yeah. Well, first things first. Drake May being named the starter today by Coach Gerard Mayo. Um, not shocking, I think, in my opinion. I saw him probably around week 6, week 8, around there being named the starter. Jacoby Brissett not getting the job done for them, unfortunately. So, what do you think about Mr. May, the North Carolina prospect, coming into the NFL? First game against Houston out of all teams, making your first start. And do you think it was too early to give him the start?
Well, we knew it was only a matter of time before Drake May would become the starter. It
Mm-hmm.
was not going to be a situation in New England where they draft him, he sits the whole year, learns. Because, with all respect to Jacoby Brissett, he's not like the guy really
Yeah.
anywhere, no matter what team he was on, he wouldn't be the guy. So we knew Drake May was going to be the starter eventually. Being against Houston, though, that is going to be a test for sure.
Yeah, well, welcome to the NFL. Drake May against Houston. Go out and prove that you are the consensus number 3 overall pick in this year's draft, and he will have a chance to prove it. along with his other quarterback comrades, as in Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, to start in the NFL. So he will be alongside them to get that going for them. Um, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I followed May through the draft process, and I've looked at him as a athlete and as a prospect. So I see nothing but bright future ahead of him. You know, being as a Bills fan, that is a little scary, but we'll see. We can one can only hope that he can hopefully not find his groove, but again, you don't know with these rookie quarterbacks, man. You don't know what you're getting out of them, so it will be exciting to watch him play. Hopefully, he will be the starter in in the future against us. Moving on, Kev. Another kind of big news happened around the NFL. This is probably the biggest. Um, Jets fire Robert Saleh. Pardon, I did not want to spell Robert Saleh in the comments, and I did not want to get roasted. So I just wrote Jets head coach. So comes as a shock, 2-3 start, Kev. I'll kind of let you take the reins on this one a little bit here to see what you think about this. I know you're not a Jets fan, but I know you're an Aaron Rodgers fan. So kind of give us a little bit, give us an intel on that. Hang on. Oh, okay.
All
So,
right.
yep. So, what do you think about that, Kev?
Well, as you said, I am an Aaron Rodgers fan. So when it was announced that he said he was going to go play for the Jets, I kind of adopted the Jets as my third favorite team. So in a way, I kind of feel their pain. But Salah getting fired, I felt like it's something that was going to happen. I did not think it'd be this soon, though. I mean, to be frank, I think they were just looking for a scapegoat. Because we all know, every football fan knows that when they got Aaron Rodgers, that trade was announced. The Jets were pegged as Super Bowl contenders. Like, this is a team that just needed a quarterback, just about any quarterback, not like Patrick Mahomes, but just a quarterback who is significantly better than what they had. And then last year goes after 4 plays. It's like, okay, they still finished 7-10. You get a healthy Aaron Rodgers for a full season, and like you will be a Super Bowl contender. All the pieces are there. Through 5 games, Aaron Rodgers, he just looks like a 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury.
Mm.
He has not been the same QB since the 2022 season. That last game of the 2022 against Detroit, he has not been the same quarterback.
Yeah, and it certainly is interesting with Robert Saleh being fired here in the middle of the season, 2-3 start, like you said. A lot of people were saying that it was Aaron Rodgers' decision. It did not come from Aaron Rodgers, I don't think. I think it was all management from what I've been reading. So it is very interesting to see what develops in the Jets camp. So again, Robert Saleh being fired as the Jets head coach as of today, effective immediately. Apparently walked out by security. Didn't even have a chance to say goodbye to the team too. So I don't know how players feel about that. I don't know how Rodgers feels about that. Again, we don't know the whole situation, but yeah, I kind of did see it coming too. Didn't see it coming so soon. His record, they always show the head coach's record during games. I'm sure people know that, but it is certainly interesting to see what develops from here on out, from the Jets here on out, and what Rodgers, I feel like Rodgers needs to comment on it, but we will see what the team feels and he feels at the end of the day here with Saleh being fired. Saleh did come out and say he is planning on coaching in 2025, so he is not going to be going anywhere this year, apparently. He's not going to go for a DC job anytime soon in the near future for what I've been seeing. But again, he's preparing for 2025 to coach either as a DC or as a head HC. With your kind of knowledgement on this one too, Kev, do you see him being a head coach or do you see him being a defensive coordinator? Because he did come over from the 49ers as the defensive coordinator. Obviously, as we all know, the 49ers have a great defense year in and year out because they have everybody around them to do whatever they can to win football games, and their defense has been at least top 10 every year in the rankings. So, do you see him as a DC or do you see him as an HC?
See, that's tough because, as you said, he came over as a defensive coordinator, and the Jets defense seems to have taken a step back this year. They aren't playing at the top level people thought. Now, from watching Hard Knocks and watching interviews, Salah seems like a decent dude. He knows his stuff. I'm gonna say I don't think many coaches would have succeeded in the situation that he was in.
Mm-hmm.
So next year, it's tough to say right now. But if I had to say, I think he'll land a DC job somewhere because
Yeah.
the dude is a qualified quality coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, with head coaching experience too, that will help out really anyone.
Yeah, and definitely see what we can and what we can tell about the future of the Jets as well. Kind of sticking with the Jets topic here, potentially head coaches for the Jets. Now, again, again, this is kind of a topic where if if you do know somebody, obviously we can always talk about them. I think a couple of coaches come into mind when I think of what does a head coach of the New York Jets look like, and I think they don't need to go to the defensive coordinator route. I think they're going to go more so offensive coordinator route, and couple of head coaches in mind will be Ben Johnson from the Lions. Always proved that Jared Goff can get it done. Mr. Goofball, they like to call him sometimes when he makes a mistake. But Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, potentially becoming a head coach. I know his name was thrown out there a few times in rumors. And then Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator for the Houston, another Houston head coaching tree, leaving potentially next year with him and his success with CJ Stroud and that offense. I think, in my opinion, those two are on top of my list if I was the Jets. Probably and others too, probably, but those two are the kind of the top two off of my head. Did you think you have anybody in mind for the Jets head coaching position?
It's like you said. I think Ben Johnson is the guy the Jets should go after.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know they have the defense. Yeah, the defense has taken a step back this year so far, but they still have a lot of talent on that unit. So they just need a defensive coordinator who can whip them into shape while a head coach can transform that whole offense because we're seeing it this year. The offensive line doesn't look amazing for the Jets, better than last year, but the bar was set pretty low, if we're being honest. And again, Rodgers does not look like the same quarterback. Whatever it is they're running in that offensive system, it's not working.
Yeah.
Which I feel they should have made a change at offensive coordinator too.
Mm-hmm.
Nathaniel Hackett, like yeah, he had those years in Green Bay where he was the OC. Rodgers had those MVP years. But they don't have Devontae. They don't have a Devontae Adams in New York. They don't have an Aaron Jones, who is an extremely reliable running back, and they don't have an extremely reliable offensive line. So you need that coach who is offensively minded to, despite the fact Aaron Rodgers, it could be 41 next year. If you can get an offensive minded guy to pick his brain a bit, and even if he turns the clock back to prior to his two MVP seasons, he was still a solid QB. If you can get a year off him and next year like that, then heck, you could try to convince the guy to stick around for another year or two, maybe three. We saw
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady play till he was 45. So if Rodgers works with a guy, keyword works with a guy, because I know the narrative around Aaron Rodgers is that he's an extremely tough person to deal with. But you get him, an offensive mind guy, and they mesh, then that New York Jets team, their potential is just going to go through the roof.
Yeah, and it is certainly interesting to see what is going to go on with that potential all the way down the line here. Their defensive coordinator is being named the interim head coach, and who knows, the interim head coach could turn around. We've seen it with the Raiders, and their head coach currently. So we've seen it with that. So we don't know who the next head coach is. They don't know who the Jets have in mind. So we will see on that. So now, kind of switching gears here at Inside the Sidelines, we're going to be talking about some games. And the first game everybody wants to talk about is the Kansas City Chiefs winning once again, improving to 5-0. This is kind of a interesting topic because now and again they find a way to win. And I looked at the score, and it was about, I believe, another one-score game from the Chiefs. With that in mind, Derek Carr did go down in that game. So, again, is there a team, and I said this last week to Zach, is there another team that can finally say that they can take down the Kings? And on the schedule, we talked about it, it's going to be almost smooth sailing if everyone's going to say the Bills, and they can see, we're going to talk about them later, but they're going to see what they can do from here on out, all the way up into that game. Everyone's going to be probably favoring them in every single game now because they are now 5-0. Undefeated streak still alive still alive in Kansas City. The three-peat is looking scarier and scarier by the week. So, Kev, I pose the question to Zach. Is there a team in the NFL, NFC or AFC right now? And now we all seen what the Ravens and the Texans can do. We see the 49ers have been struggling. So, again, we're going to have to rely on another NFC team, though, in the Super Bowl if the Chiefs make it, to root for them. But is it going to be enough to stop the Kansas City Chiefs? So my question to you, AFC or NFC, what team do you think can finally hit the nail on the head and beat these guys, and everyone can be happy in the world?
Well, that's going to be tough for any team to accomplish. The Chiefs won back-to-back Super Bowls, not because of flukes, and definitely not because they're slouches. They have it in place. Seems like everyone on that team is super clutch. They come through in the big moments. So to beat a team like that, you gotta think, like, look at the New England Patriots dynasty. People thought, oh, they're just gonna win it every single year. They didn't. Like, scientifically, I don't think that's possible. But dang it, they did win a lot, and it seems like the Chiefs are like this too. Well, it's gonna take a perfect storm from a team in the AFC or the NFC to take down the Chiefs, and because of this hat, it pains me to say this because I do not want to see a division rival win a Super Bowl, but the Detroit Lions, I think, out of all the teams in the NFL, I think they are the gut team that I think could take down the Chiefs. They got everything. They basically have everything, I should say. Dan Campbell, he is a leader of men. He could make the London Silly Nannies a competitive team. And then we talked about Ben Johnson earlier. He's an offensive-minded genius. He's making Jared Goff look like a top 10 QB. And like Detroit's, they're a scary team. The day they hired Dan Campbell, despite his bite them on the
Yeah.
kneecaps. Anyway, Dan Campbell, the day they hired him, I was like, this guy, this seems like the guy for Detroit. And the fact that the Lions ownership said we're giving him 5 years, I was like, I don't like that. Detroit could become legit. And here they are. Detroit seems like a legit team. They were this close last year playing in the Super Bowl in the first place. And in the Super Bowl, we saw Drake Greenlaw go down with an injury, which hurt them. But like the Lions are a team to me that have a lot of depth. Even if an injury like that happened with the Lions, I'm going to say it, I think Detroit could have beaten Kansas City last year. So with that in mind, I feel that Detroit can beat them this year. I feel like Detroit's the top dog in the NFC, which is painful for me to say, very painful.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, they have everything, it seems.
Yeah, and it is very interesting to see them being on a roll right now as well. Again, I think, and if you're gonna defeat the dogs, you're gonna hit them where it hurts. And again, I'm gonna go to the two teams that have beaten the Bills. I'm gonna go with the Ravens and the Texans. I think, yes, the Ravens won. The Ravens did not win. They won almost by a toe, and they almost beat them, and it was a very close game. It was a very thrilling game, so I would like to see part two of that. Also, the Texans, I feel like, are on a warpath right now to prove to everybody, including themselves, that they are going to be the top dogs. I think in this year's NFL, and I think that they're going to make a run for Kansas City's crown. So, like I said, to beat the dogs, you gotta be the dogs in that conference. In the NFC side, I'm gonna go with the dark horse here, and people might think me as crazy, but I'm gonna go Seattle Seahawks, man. I think they've got what it takes to make it back to the Super Bowl. Um, I think that they have everything rolling for them right now. I think their offense is playing really good. I think their defense is playing very good as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, I know it was a questionable, weird game against the Giants here, and but I'm gonna go with the dark horse. Everyone knows me; I like my dark horse teams, and I like, I like Seattle in this situation. I don't think the 49ers are the same. I think there's been their struggles there here and there. Um, they lost to the Cardinals, which is again shocking. So that's a division rival. So again, if the 49ers can't get it going, man, I see Detroit making a case. I see Seattle making a case. Um, and and who knows how long the Vikings luck is going to run out, so you really can't put them out of the conversation either. I know you wish we could, but you got to keep them in the conversation until I think they go on their little bit of a cold streak, but they're rolling right now too into the bye, going 5-0, beating the Jets. And it was a very interesting win, I should say, by them. But the Jets just shot themselves in the foot, I think, in my opinion. So, again, those are the teams I think that can do it in the NFC. And again, it remains to be seen if the AFC, whoever's going to top it emerge. It doesn't matter if you're Houston. Doesn't matter if you're going to be the Bills. It doesn't matter if you're going to be the it doesn't matter if you're going to be any other team. It's just like again. It is going to be it's going to be a dogfight in the AFC. I think the NFC is going to be again. NFC is going to be another throw up this year. I don't think it's going to be the 49ers. And then I'm going to go back to sorry if you're going to hear this, but it might be Detroit. And again, they have all the tools that they can get done. I will go to war to Dan Campbell. He's kind of my favorite head coach in the NFL right now. I will go to war for Dan Campbell if I have to. He's a great guy, it seems like, and he's a very fired up personality. And I think they made a great choice by hiring him when he got hired for that job there. And like I said, Ben Johnson, man, it is shocking to me he does not have a head coaching job right now. And again, Bobby Slowick from the Houston Texans. I think those are your top two guys coming out this year for your head coaching job. And again, who knows? Who knows who's gonna be? Like I said, who's gonna be the top dog in this year's playoff run? And again, in the AFC. But like I said, if you're gonna be the dogs, you're gonna have to beat the dogs, and we'll see what comes out in that. But speaking of the NFC North, my partner over here, he is obviously, you can tell as his glasses and the hat. The Packers bouncing back after last week. Jordan Love last week did not play to the Jordan Love we're used to seeing. Um, your thoughts on that game, Kev? Because I know I had Zach on last week. Your thoughts on that game, and then your thoughts on the Packers bounce back against the Rams.
Well, the game against the Vikings as a Packers fan, that was frustrating to watch. That was perhaps the most frustrating half of Packers football that I have ever watched. They did try to make a little bit of a comeback towards the end, fell up just short. But yeah, Jordan Love, he did not look like the Jordan Love we saw the second half of last season. And that was just a rough game. Like, there's a lot that went wrong for the Packers. The fact that they kept it close, though, despite all their hiccups and shortcomings in that game, I view that as a little bit of a win. And then saw on this past Sunday, beating the Rams, bouncing back. Like, the Rams aren't like a punching bag of a team. They have talent. So going into LA, you can say what you want about LA football fans. I don't show up, but
Mhm.
it's still a home game. There's still a lot of fans. They're rooting against the Packers or for the Rams. Coming in and beating them, that is, dare I say, I'm going to say it, call me crazy, a statement win.
Mm.
It's the Packers saying that, yeah, last week against the Vikings, we had all these hiccups. We looked rough. We played a terrible football, but we have discipline. We can be a very disciplined team. We can bounce back. We won't let last week's performance define who we are. We can go into any stadium against any team after a very difficult loss, and we can show that we're still here. We aren't going away. We're not just gonna lie down and just get kicked by everyone. We are going to rise up and say that, you know what? Maybe you should start talking about us in the Super Bowl conversation. Detroit's getting talked about. San Francisco is still up there because they get, despite their shortcomings this year, so far they have a lot of talent. Seattle, dark horse. Dallas is always going to be talked about as a contender, regardless of how everyone else in the NFL feels. So start talking about Green Bay. Look at what we can do. We have talent on both sides of the ball. They, everyone saw how the Packers did last year in the second half of the season in the playoffs. So if the Packers are a team that catches fire, then I think they're the most dangerous team in the NFL. Slight bias, yeah, but if I wasn't a Packers fan, I would still be saying that.
Yeah, and it is certainly interesting to see what the Packers are going to do here from here on out to make up for that loss against the Vikings. And again, with that, I think that, like I said, it is kind of a statement win, saying that they're that last week was a fluke, I should say, because of Jordan Love's first game back after the injury in the Eagles game. And again, it's just again, I think again you can't really count them out, like you said. They will be. I think they will be a playoff team. Will they win the division? Hard to tell because you got the Vikings and the Lions rolling right now. So it will be a dogfight in the NFC North. Kind of will be interesting to see at the end of the day. So it will be a fun ride to see what the NFC North has in store for the NFL. I think that's going to be the most exciting division right now because as of right now, if you look at any other division in the NFL, really truly you can't really look at another division saying that's going to be competitive. And you could probably make an argument for the NFC West because obviously the 49ers are going down. The Rams are still the Rams, I think. With Matt Stafford, they're going to look good. Cardinals are somehow, I'm not saying shockingly, but winning games. And, and they could have had that one against the Bills. We could have been talking about a different Arizona team. And again, it's just, 49ers are not the 49ers right now. I don't know what's going on with them, but it is very shocking to me that they are not top dogs in the NFC West right now. I believe it is the Seattle Seahawks in that division right now. And so it'll be a fun ride to see what that division holds because, like I said, it is not going to be one team takes all. It is going to be at least a dogfight between three teams, I say, in my opinion. We are not going to talk about the fourth team because the fourth team doesn't have it rolling right now. As of sticking with the NFC, and I think going to be a favorite to watch this year is the Washington Commanders are still rocking and rolling with their win this week. Jaden Daniels looking like the best quarterback coming out of this year's draft. I honestly, I think in my right now, if you're going to give me almost a mid-season, gonna be mid-season soon, a couple weeks here, a rookie of the year, I say it goes to Jaden Daniels. He's been proving it week in and week out that he can stick with the big dogs and he can win. And I talked about with the Zach last week. Again, that win, I think right now has not solidified him as the rookie of the year, but again, I can't stop talking about him, man. He has been rocking and rolling. It's been a fun ride to watch Jaden Daniels, see him as an NFL quarterback. Coming out of LSU, we know how LSU quarterbacks do in the NFL. You look at Joe Burrow, the most notable one, and now Jaden Daniels coming into the league saying, "Hey, I am here too." Your thoughts on the Commanders season so far, Kev?
I am surprised at how Washington has been doing so far. You know, in the draft, people figured, oh, they're going to take a quarterback. I was one of those people who was thinking they are not a quarterback away. There's a lot of holes in that roster that they have to fill. A rookie quarterback isn't going to fix it. And you know what? There are times where I like being wrong. This is one of them. I am enjoying the fact that Jane Daniels stepped into that number one role for the Commanders and is playing lights out. And like it's in the NFCs too, which I mean, there's the Cowboys, which they're the Cowboys, the Eagles, then that third team, aka the Giants. Like usually it's always a fight facing divisional teams. That's a tough division for a rookie quarterback, I feel. But Shane Daniels, he has been very impressive. He looks calm, cool, collective, composed. So many C's, but like he's turning all of those C's into W's. I agree with you. Mid-season rookie of the year pick, I would definitely go with Jaden Daniels. I'm impressed with what he's done in Washington. And
Yeah,
he could have went to any other team that took a rookie quarterback. Could he be playing as well as he is right now? You never know, but even then, you like flip flop the rookie QBs. I think you would still say that Jane Daniels is performing the best.
yeah, and again, we do not see what Mister Drake May has come to store yet, and we have not seen obviously JJ McCarthy. We've seen what Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, and now Jaden Daniels have done with that, and with them being kind of like I said, being in that rookie quarterback class. The only one we'll probably will not see for a long time will be Michael Penix. So out of the five, the three of them are now going to be officially. Oh, sorry, the four out of the five. No, sorry, four out of the six. My mistake. Four out of the six will be starting in the NFL. Mr. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and now Mr. Drake May. And again, we have not seen Michael Penix, and we have not seen JJ McCarthy, JJ due to injury, and Mr. Michael Penix being behind Mr. Captain Kirk Cousins. And again, like I said, it has been a fun ride on for the Commanders, I feel like. And I don't know, mid-season, like I said, mid-season, kind of still staying on this topic here, Kev. Do you think they have enough in them to pull out an NFC East title this year? Now, again, we don't know what the Eagles have in store. We do not know what the Cowboys have in store for us yet. Again, with their struggles here and there, with the Eagles' struggles from the Cowboys, and again, the Giants being the Giants, do you see the Commanders finally? This is like I said, and I place this to Zach. If you're going to take advantage of a division that is hurting so badly right now, now is the time. Now is the time to prove that we are the Commanders. We have been the laughing stock for the past couple of years now, being top picks in the draft, taking this player, taking that player, finally settling down on a quarterback. And again, my question to you, do you think they are the favorite going into the next couple weeks here? And again, do you think it is now is the time for the Commanders to hit the nail on the coffin, get these wins while you can, because you don't know when the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to catch fire?
Oh yeah, I think it's absolutely critical that Washington keeps rolling hot. Dallas and Philadelphia, they have too much talent to not eventually wake up and catch fire. So if you're the Commanders, you're a young team. they were a laughing stock for like the past 20 plus years. We're being honest, the whole Dan Snyder saga as owner. They've had an absolute joke. So them with a 4-1 start, rookie quarterback, they caught lightning out bottle. They have to keep up this momentum. And I think they absolutely can win the division. Even if Dallas and Philadelphia catch fire, Washington is a team I think can go blow by blow with any team in the NFL, really. Washington, you can't face them and be like, well, this is going to be a relaxing game. No, Washington's showing that they have the stuff. They should be taken serious. So I can easily see Washington taking home that NFC East crown at season's end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be a fun division. Again, that is another fun, exciting division to watch throughout the season. And again, it seems like the NFC has always been a fun ride to look at because you don't know what team is going to emerge on top of each division every year. And AFC is a little bit of a different story, but again, we will see. Remains to be seen. Again, the Commanders still rolling with a 4-1 start. Jaden Daniels looking like a top 10 quarterback already in the NFL. Again, remains to be seen. We will see how it goes. Going from a couple interesting teams here, Kev. Let's talk about a thriller for the Ravens. Ravens coming off of a win in overtime with the Bengals. Um, Bengals trying to still figure it out, man. Ravens coming up again, almost close, and we will see how that folds in Cincinnati land. But right now, this is the Ravens talk. Kind of shocking to see them actually going into OT that week. After the Bills game concluded, the Ravens game was on and saw that exciting ending to the game. Your thoughts on the Ravens pulling it out against the Bengals?
Well, people would think after what Baltimore did at Buffalo the week prior that they're just going to walk in and sort of walk all over the Bengals. So the game being that close, it's really not surprising that AFC North seems like every time it's an interdivision matchup within that division, then it's always a fight. Like all four teams in that division hate each other. So in a way, it's not that surprising that it goes overtime. Because to talk about the Bengals for a second, they're 1-4, yeah, but they are definitely way better than the record shows. I feel like
Yeah,
Joe Burrow's great. Jamar Chase is obviously a beast. They seem to have a good run game. So like Baltimore going to Cincinnati, which I mean, since they got Joe Burrow, Cincinnati I feel has been one of the more tougher places to play in. It shouldn't be that surprising, but that high scoring and that close, it's always just ooh. As a neutral fan watching games like that, you always love it. You love
yeah,
watching intense games like that going down their wire. Baltimore, I mean, they were considered favorites in the AFC for a reason. There's a reason people talk about them being the ones that take down the Chiefs. And Baltimore hang on, winning a tough game against a division rival on the road in overtime. They're showing that, like, we're still here. We can still become the top dogs in the AFC.
yeah, and it is very exciting to see the Ravens again. We will see what remains to be seen. 3-2 on the season again with them. Cincinnati still trying to figure it out, and again, we're going to talk about Cincinnati here for a minute. Again, with Cincinnati, again, we still don't know what's going on there with Cincinnati. Again, like you said, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, the run game has been pretty solid. Just trying to figure it out. And, Joe Mixon was the bell cow for a little bit there. And it's interesting, man. I mean, I always say players leaving for other teams, you can obviously clearly see for the better, maybe for the money. But again, it is interesting to see the run game hasn't really been there, but it has been at times. But again, looking like Joe Mixon could be missed in Cincinnati land over there. for the Bengals. And speaking of the Ravens beating the Bills, everybody's waiting for this topic because everybody knows and their mother knows that I am a Bills fan and gotta talk about it. Gotta talk about it. I have to talk about it weekly on the show here. It was a tough game. Tough game. I'll give my thoughts. I'll give your thoughts here in a second, Kev, but I want to get my thoughts here first. It was painful. It was painful to watch. Obviously, our boy decided to not really perform the way that everyone expected him to, going 9 for, I believe it was like 28 or 29 or something like that. Very, very, very terrible. Just not throwing the ball accurately. Everyone's been saying that he needs a number one wide receiver. That Diggs was the Doug. Now everyone's saying Diggs was the answer. This and that. Now it's like, do you make a move for Devontae? Do you not make a move for Devontae? Do you go after a cheaper guy like Cooper? Do you try to go after someone? It was very painful to watch. Again, some flashes though. I mean, there was some flashes of Coleman going up and getting it and getting just going, just that touchdown, man. It was that got him going, and you figured that they could be just in it, and they were in it, man. They were, but coming down to poor clock management at the end. And it is on everybody, I believe, on the team. The Bills defense did all that they could, man. They tried to keep them in it. And again, we've seen defenses win championships. And again, I wholeheartedly believe that the Bills defense wasn't much at fault. I think it was more so offense and clock management for them. It I don't know. I mean, I'm at a loss for words here. It was a painful watch. Fairbear, again, these kickers are unreal, man. Brandon Aubrey, another one. I'm just, like I said, just a kicker segment for a second. These kickers, man, they can hit from anywhere. They nowadays, they're 58 plus. It looks like they're not human. Brandon Aubrey is the most notable one, honestly. Fairbear is another one. Youngwei Koo, another one, hitting everything from 58 and from freaking 55 plus. I mean, again, it was a tough one to watch here for as a Bills fan. And again, I wanted to get Kevin on here for a biased but non-biased fan here as you, Kev. What did you see? And I always turn to you. You always have some great comments, and we always diss you half the time here and there in the chat, but sometimes you are right, sometimes you are wrong, but then we'd like to make fun of you for it. But again, your take on this interesting loss to them. I'm not going to say interesting. I can say ugly. You can say ugly to this. What do you take away, if there is any positives from this game?
Oh, well, the positives is that bottom line, the Bills are a team that they're retooling on the fly. All the veteran talent and leadership they lost in the offseason. Coming into this, everyone knew the receiving room is young and inexperienced. Yeah, they brought in Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins. Some guys have experience. But then you have Shakir and Coleman, who are both young. You have Dalton Kincaid. He's a young stud. Knox, he's been on the team, but he's a veteran. And it's like, they're going to be growing pains. And then on the defense, too, they got younger. No matter what, there are going to be growing pains. Like, look at the Packers last year. Young team, terrible start to the season. They caught fire, finished hot. That's why I'm seeing how that's basically the vibes the Bills are giving me this year. It's a work in progress on the fly. They aren't going, it's not going to be like years past where, like, oh, the Bills are going to stomp good teams on paper by like 20 plus points. This year is a completely different Buffalo Bills squad. And yeah, so the game was tough. It was a definitely tough loss for the Bills, despite all the struggles on offense. Only lose by 3 points. That shows that the Bills, they have fight, and they are still a very competitive football team. Like, you can't count out the Bills any week. That's why our predictions on that other podcast channel, I find it hard to choose against the Bills, even if realistically, I looked at that matchup. I'm like, I mean, on paper, the Bills are outmatched, but like they're a team I find it hard to bet against. And the Packers are my number one team. I'm not diehard Bills Mafia, but as long as they have Josh Allen, the Bills are a team that you can't truly count out.
Yeah, and I was actually talking to our good friend Aaron, the very first guest here. Do you do you put McDermott in the hot seat now? Now, obviously it is 3-2, and again, it is 3-2. It's going into week 6 now. We all know this. Again, 3-2. Obviously, we saw Salah get fired at 2-3. Do you put him in the hot seat right now? And now this is where I think the comment section, if you guys would like to chime in on this segment, do you put him in the hot seat going into week 6? Now, again, do you see him being in the hot seat at the end of the season? Again, if they make playoffs and if they don't. So here's the situation. If they do, depending on their record, I think, do you keep him for one more year? But if they don't make playoffs, and he has been the sole heart of that Bills coaching staff, do you finally say maybe it's time to clean house? And again, that's coming from, I know we just hired Joe Brady and Mr. Bobby Bavich as the coordinators this year, full time now. Maybe not clean house, but maybe have a change at the helm for what McDermott's trying to do. And again, this poses the question. If they do decide to move on from McDermott, and I'm not saying they're going to, maybe that is, or maybe at the end of the season, maybe my thought will be a little bit different. Do you think an offensive-minded head coach could come in and try to fix the team if they didn't make the playoffs? Everybody has been saying maybe they needed an offensive-minded guy in the first place, like a Kyle Shanahan, like a couple other candidates at the time when we were looking for a head coach. And again, we don't know what if Kyle Shanahan would have had the success here that he does now in San Francisco. But San Francisco has made it to a Super Bowl. But again, I'm not putting that on McDermott. I'm not saying McDermott needs to go to a Super Bowl to prove that he's the guy. He's been the guy for a couple of years now. For many years, actually. He's been probably the longest lasting head coach I've seen come through this team for a while, because we've been through a lot of them. So again, do you put him in the hot seat at 3-2? And again, at the end of the season, this is going to be a different story. We will look back on this and we will say, is the record good enough to keep him around? And look at all the games that they have been a part of. So again, Kev, do you put him in the hot seat at 3-2?
At 3-2, Sean McDermott's seat is ice cold. And I'm going to say something that in the comments I will get dragged by Bills Mafia. And unless the Bills finish 3-14, McDermott's seat should still be cold at the end of the year. So, like I was saying earlier in this segment, the Bills are a retooling team on the fly. And yeah, there is the argument, maybe an offensive-minded coach, but look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen and McDermott, they've been together the whole time. And look how Allen has developed under a defensive-minded head coach. So Allen, he's one of the players, and like the Bills' offense in general, really. You just need a offensive-minded coordinator. The head coach, you don't need an offensive-minded guy when you have a coordinator, because Josh Allen is objectively a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. If there's anyone who doesn't have him in the top 3, they are on the good stuff, because in terms of talent, you cannot have that guy out of your top 3. So it would be a mistake, I feel, if the Bills like overreact, like the management, Terry Pagula, overreact at the end of the year if the Bills like don't even make the playoffs. Say they finish like 8-9 and get rid of McDermott. that would not be the right move to me. Because this is, as I said, a retooling year, so I think it's important to let them develop. The Bills have basically rookie coordinators full time, and this is a new era for the Bills. Basically, the Bills are in the second leg of their eras tour. There's the first one with them being Super Bowl contenders, and this is the start of a new window. So cleaning house now, that's, in my opinion, that is not the right answer. Regardless of how they finish this year, I don't think you can get rid of McDermott. He is a solid coach. He is a great leader. You just gotta see what next offseason brings. They'll have more cap space. They'll have draft capital to work with. You gotta see McDermott and Bean have another offseason together, and next year your expectations for the Buffalo Bills can be right back up on the ceiling as being Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah. And like I said, and again, and I don't mean, like I said, and I don't mean to bash him. He's been a solid head coach. I just think everybody has been questioning his time management on that game. And again, he did come out and say it was his fault. He did not bash anybody. That's a coach saying, "Hey, it's on me. It has been on me. It was on me that I did not run the ball. It was on me for not killing the clock and going into overtime against the Texans." And again, that was a fun game to watch, and it was. And like I said, they had their struggles. Allen wasn't playing like Allen. Allen wasn't playing up to his expectations. And again, he hasn't thrown a pick. But again, throwing a pick doesn't mean nothing. Again, you weren't playing the best. And again, he went out for that one series. People were questioning why he didn't stay out that rest of the game or the rest of the quarter. And again, Mitchell Trubisky just came in for one handoff, and that's it. So again, the defense came in clutch for that scenario. And again, it will be an interesting ride for the rest of the season going into Monday Night Football in the New York Jet territory with the new interim head coach and everything. So it will be an interesting ride to see. Was there any other things that you had on for week number 5, Kev? Any other teams that caught your eye, or anything that catches a surprise of a certain team that has been a little bit jaw dropping, a little bit of, hey, that's not what I think the team should be, or hey, the team is surprising me this year with the way they're playing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about teams that are massively underperforming, the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think many people will have pegged them as being this bad.
Yeah.
It's not like they're only losing by 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge skill gap between a team like the Jags and the Bengals, which, funny enough, the Bengals are another team that's surprising me.
Mm-hmm.
Not really in terms of, yeah, the record's 1-4, but, it's surprising that the Bengals still, they didn't squeak out another win or two somehow.
Yeah. And it's very shocking to me that it's very shocking to me with that, and then kind of the NFC South. Honestly, I know that's an entire division, but obviously the Panthers are the Panthers. They haven't been really rolling lately. I thought that one win would actually motivate them, but yeah, different story on that. But the Saints have been, so shocking this year. The Falcons have been showing that, hey, I think Kirk Cousins was the right signing. Again, questionable draft pick with Michael Penix that will be talked about for a long time here. And can't count out the Bucks actually now too. The Bucks have been a surprising team. They've been showing that, hey, we're in this division too. And again, another division I see that can have 3 teams in the playoffs. And you can look at all the NFC teams and look at all the divisions, and you cannot. I don't think you can. I think you can make an argument for the NFC East. You can say arguably, I think 3 teams can make it to the playoffs there, but I'd say I wouldn't. What would you say about a 3-team NFC South playoff appearance from all three of those teams. Again, you'll have your division winner, and then you'll have your two wild card spots. Do you see? I guess this is kind of a question. Do you see one division making a run for three teams of making it into the playoffs?
Absolutely, yes. And it's not really one division that you can pinpoint. All the divisions, it seems, except the AFC South, come to think of it, have three solid teams. And it's like, in the NFC especially, that's wide open. Going back to this team that's surprising, Arizona. Like, I thought this would be another rebuilding year for Arizona, but they just walked into Santa Clara and beat San Francisco. They nearly beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo in week 1. The NFC West can send 3 teams. The NFC North could send 3 teams. The East could send 3 teams. Even the South could send 3 teams. The NFC especially is wide open. It's very competitive. There really is not one team that's like, oh, well, for sure, they are the top cheese. So like it's wide open in the NFC especially.
Yeah.
I can like all the 4 divisions in the NFC. They could easily send 3 teams to the playoffs. And
Yeah.
the NFC is that competitive. It's that open, and they have teams that are that good to where one division can't be represented like that.
Yeah, and again, it is very shocking to me that these divisions have been very competitive this year, and it's been very interesting year for the start of the first 5 weeks of the season. And again, going back to your Jacksonville Jaguars comment, definitely not a it's surprising to see what has been going on in the Duvalville and Saxonville down there in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence not playing to where he is being paid to be. Um, Getting new receivers in Brian Thomas and Gabriel Davis. Again, that little scrimmage at the sidelines. Don't know what happened. Apparently, nothing came out of it though. After he threw the tablet at Gabe Davis, that came out to say that. I don't know if you had a chance to read it or if the comments had a chance to read about it. It looks like Trevor Lawrence threw the iPad at Gabe Davis, and that's what started the brawl. So we will see what comes out of that. Apparently, everything was fine after they talked it out a little bit. But again, Jacksonville having their frustrations, they're getting to the point where enough is enough. I think it's we're not performing to the way we're performing, and looking like another top 5 draft pick this year, but what remains to be seen. And again, we will see what comes out of every other division with all the division leaders. And going back to your comment, there's not one division where you can point out and say, yeah, there's one top cheese. And again, and I will point to the only team I think that needs to be talked about, obviously, in their division is the Chiefs, I think, because the Raiders are not really making a case to become, top dogs yet. The Chargers, being the Chargers, they've always been in every year, but Justin Herbert has been playing hurt. So it is very interesting to see what the AFC West comes out makes to be again. And then the Broncos are being the Broncos. They'll always be, Broncos country, let's ride. And we'll see what happens in week 6 with all these other with some division matchups happening, non-division matchups happening, some good matchups happening, and all that other stuff, kicking off the week and week 6 for the Thursday night matchup coming up in a couple of days here. So, and Monday night with the Bills and Jets, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about on that in next week's show here. And again, I want to just get my final thoughts here on week 5. It has been a very interesting week for week 5. And it will be a interesting ride from here on out rest of the season. Apparently, we're supposed to be getting Devontae Adams news very soon, so be on the lookout for that little short video if it gets traded between now and Friday and or sometime soon here. Kevin, I want to thank you for coming on today in in episode 3 for Inside the Sidelines, and we'll have you on again very shortly and very soon. Veer, my friend, thank you very much for coming on today and joining me here at the Inside the Sideline podcast. Again, guys, thank you very much for watching to the end of the video. If you guys have, please like, subscribe, comment on the video, tell me who you guys want to see next. Next week, I have a little bit of a surprise in store, hopefully. Let me see if I can get that going for you. But again, please like, subscribe, tell all your friends, family, and your acquaintances about this podcast. It really helps. It really helps out the channel, really helps out me, really helps out what I can do here on the channel. Weekly videos recorded every Tuesday and released that very same night for you. Again, I want to thank Kevin again for coming on and joining me today for this week's episode of Inside the Sidelines, hosted by me, yours truly. So again, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and again, thank you very much for watching to the very end of the video if you guys have. And please like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you all next week. Have a great one, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.